So this is another part of my Decade series about gay couples throughout history. I'm doing like a couple for each decade, obviously. The last one I did was 1920s, and I did two women, and they were dancing flappers. So this one's the 1940s, and I decided to make them navy, like the navy. I was mostly inspired by this photograph I saw, which I'll probably pop up on the screen, or no, I will pop up on the screen, of two guys that seem to be a couple around that time period. They're obviously like, I don't know, in these uniforms, and I thought that was really cute. And a lot of the series is sort of meant to shine a light, I guess, on LGBT couples throughout history, because I feel like a lot of people seem to think that, I don't know, gays didn't exist until like now, which is weird because gay people have been vocal since at least the 70s and have existed forever, at least 70s in the US. And like I've read that there were sort of flourishing gay communities in other countries in maybe the 1920s, and I don't know, a lot of LGBT related history has been erased or ignored, and there's tons of people within history who were gay, who were just, I don't know, when their histories are told, that part's just sort of ignored from it, which I always thought was weird. So I wanted to do these sort of like cute drawings, kind of focused on that, and a lot of them were inspired by old photos that I saw that I was like, wow, when I was a kid, I didn't actually know that gay people existed longer, I don't know, like back in time, because there was none of that shown to me in history. It was just like completely wiped clean. And I think that's sort of, well, depressing, but like just really sad, because so much of our history is just sort of lost to people being, I don't know, dicks? Ignorant? I don't know a nicer way to say that. So, this illustration, I guess the colors in it are just a little bit boring, so it's mostly going to be whites and blues. I'm going to draw the uniforms. They're going to be white with like the, well, navy blue for the collars and whatnot. And I decided to not speed up this video since it ended up not being as long as I wanted it to. So this one's just going to be at my regular working pace. I wanted to do the shoes on this guy just sort of black, because, I don't know, they're always black in old photographs. It's kind of hard to tell the colors. I think I mentioned this in my last one of these, but in old photos you kind of have to make up the colors and sort of do research and kind of figure it out as you go along, because there weren't a lot of color photographs in that time period, which is, I don't know, hard for me because everything I do is so bright and colorful. I'm just like used to throwing colors everywhere. In fact, I actually had somebody visit me when I was tabling at Massachusetts Independent Comic Expo, who said they were just, I don't know, impressed at how I just sort of threw colors everywhere in my drawings. She was just, she kind of seemed floored by that, because she said herself was kind of like nervous about using colors. And I notice with a lot of artists, they tend to use limited color palettes, but mine's like a crayon box exploded every time I draw. I guess kind of because everything's sort of kiddie, and kid stuff is always so bright and colorful and fun, and I'm sort of thinking like, I don't know, Legos and Crayola crayons, and just everything's bright, and just the colors are so sporadic. But this one, the color palette is sort of muted, so I had to, I don't know, work with it. I decided to make one of the soldiers a redhead just because, I don't know, I thought it'd be cute, and I kind of wanted to work with freckles, which I'll be doing in a moment, because I have a brush that sort of spatters on freckles, and it's just really fun to do. And I feel like I've been making a lot of people have freckles, but it's especially noticeable when you do like somebody who's a redhead who's really pale, because you can just spatter them in there, you can see them all over the face, and then I just sort of clean up around the edge, because they usually get everywhere. When I'm working with acrylics or watercolor and I want to paint freckles, I just kind of like lightly wet a paintbrush and dip it in the paint, and then just spatter, and I just start beating the image, and it gets everywhere. And I've actually done it when customizing. Yeah, here's the spatter brush that I use. I do it when when I'm working with a physical object like a sculpture or a doll that I'm painting, they get everywhere. Like, I'll see freckles just across my lamp and boxes across the room, and I'm like, damn it. Like, I just got everything so freckly. But yeah, right here I had to make sure I got it like just right so it looks realistic, because you don't just want giant blobs on the character's face. You want it to look sort of natural. And I feel like a lot of people, when they draw freckles, they do it sort of like cutely and conveniently around the nose or whatever. You see that on a lot of like dolls and stuff. But I want the freckles like everywhere, like on the neck and the arms and everything, because I don't know, a lot of people with really light skin tones, redheads, particularly like gingers, freckles are all over their entire body. It's not just like cutely aligned on the nose. Here I'm actually looking at research for some of the soldiers, and this is what I was saying about the black and white photos. It's sort of hard to estimate the colors. I also wasn't sure what like Navy uniforms looked like, so I had to look into that a little bit. It's always sort of helpful to pop back and forth with Google between my drawings. Sort of why I like working with an iPad. Well, I guess at the same time working with an iPad's hard because I have to go between them, whereas when I work between my iMac and my iPad, I can use have the image up and do the illustration on my iPad at the same time. I actually added these sort of texture lines in to give it a little bit more detail because the uniforms were kind of bland. They're just white, and I wanted to add a little bit more line work and texture into it. And I don't know, I hope I didn't do these uniforms wrong. I tried to look into uniforms as much as I could. I found this chart about like what each one meant, and the white uniforms seemed to be people who were on shore in warm climates. So I don't know, maybe that's where they are. Maybe that's why they took this photo. It's just the original picture that I found they were wearing white, and I wanted to go with that. A lot of the ones that I found, the uniforms were dark navy blue with just smidgens of white, rather than the opposite, where this is white with smidgens of navy blue. I thought it was sort of interesting when I was coloring, because I was like, oh, what blue should I use for this? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what navy blue means. That's where it came from. Wow. It seems like a pretty obvious thing, but I don't know. Sometimes you just have one of those little realizations where you're like, that's where that comes from. So here's just me mostly doing little cleaning up the line work. I don't think I really show this, but when I color, I actually duplicate the line work. I create the line work once, and then I copy it and paste it exactly over it, and then I color on the bottom layer, because I can drop in the painted colors, and it won't affect the line work. So I can sort of like scribble on a layer where it won't. I don't really know how to explain it, so I should maybe do a video tutorial about like when I do that, because it makes it easier for me to color in things, because I have the bold lines still on top and I don't have to worry about painting over them or ruining them, because I have the basic line structure underneath, and then I can fill it in more on top, and then the lines still say bold on the very first layer. With their legs, I kind of just folded them under because I wanted it to match with the 1920s one with the flappers. I wanted to keep their entire body in frame. I didn't record a video, but I did a 1970s one where their legs actually go off the page, and I don't like it as much because it doesn't fit, but I like the illustration a lot, so I don't want to alter it in any way. But now I'm trying to keep them all sort of inside the boxy shape, which is sort of like they're almost chibi-fied, I guess. But chibi is when something's like really cutesy. This is actually me just dropping white in the white, so they're not transparent when I bring in the background afterwards. The background is its own layer. I usually just kind of do like a color splotch or something. I think with this one I went with blue because they're by the sea. I'm actually coming to the very end of this, but I'll pop up the final illustration. I think the video was cut short because I was in the middle of something or heading out somewhere. I don't remember why. That's why it was a lot shorter than my other ones. But anyway, I will show the illustration at the end, and if you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter or Tumblr, I usually post the full illustration there, and you can reblog or retweet or whatever if you really like it. I've been thinking of doing cards of these, like a whole series of them, or possibly enamel pins. I think I definitely want to do buttons, possibly. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them below, and subscribe if you're interested, and thanks for watching.